G'day everyone, this is the Tonepad Flanger 301. It's a build that I made about 18 months ago approximately. I've got a few things to say about it, and if you're actually planning on building the Flanger 301, watching this video might be able to help you plan yours a bit better. The main thing I mean by that is that with the power filtering of the pedal, there's a number of threads around about how if you use a Max 1044 you'll get a lot of noise. And I originally had a LT-1054. Sorry, I should explain that this pedal needs 12 volts to run, not 9. So you have to use a charge pump, or you have to use 2 batteries, or you have to use 12 volts instead of your usual 9-volt chain. But I went the charge pump route, as other people before me have done, and you get a lot of noise. I originally had the LT-1054, as I mentioned before, which had a bucket load of noise. It was pretty much unusable. It was just so noisy. I recently replaced that to a TC-1044, the I think it's CSPA, the low noise version of the TC-1044, and it's a lot better. There still is some noise, but it is a lot better. I'll just give you a demonstration of that. I'll just turn the amp on, turn it up so you can hear it. I mean, that's pretty apparent. That's with the regen up full. It's noisy. That said, the volume on the amp is up a decent amount, but it's still noisy. It's much better than the LT-1054, which, as I said before, was just unusable. There's just so much noise coming through it, you couldn't even use the stupid thing. But with the TC-1044, the low noise version, it's better. Still has noise, but it's better. So if I was going to rebuild this pedal, I would probably do without the charge pump altogether and go either the two battery route, or the just get a 12 volt a separate 12 volt DC input, and not put it on with your chain, because the charge pump, yeah, if you use a charge pump you're going to get noise. So a couple other things with the Trimpots on the inside. I've seen a few people asking about how to adjust those the correct way, and I don't know a scientific way of doing this. I just use my ears, but I'll just go through each of the Trimpots and show you how I've set mine up. So before we actually touch the Trimpots, I usually just set the front like this. Regen and width up full, and then speed just back a bit so it sort of pulses a bit, so you can actually hear the flange effect as you're adjusting the Trimpots. If you turn it up full, you can't really hear the flange effect, so I usually just have it at that sort of a speed. So you've got these 3 Trimpots. That's these black boxes with the orange adjustment, the plastic bit on the front. There's one there, and there's one there. And this is just my interpretation of how to adjust them. It's not an engineer's way as such. So I'll just go through them one at a time. So to start with this one here, just be careful with this one too. I find that once I go over 12 o'clock, and I'm in sort of anywhere from sort of 7 o'clock to 12 o'clock, it can feed back quite badly when I start turning the speed up. So just be careful with your amp. Make sure it's down when you do that, because it kind of hurts, to be honest. Anywhere on the other side of 12 o'clock, so 12 o'clock to 3, or anywhere past 12 o'clock, sounds pretty good, and you can pretty much just adjust that to your liking. You can get a strong effect, or you can get a weaker effect. I've set mine up to be a little bit sort of weaker. I'll show you a few examples. So at the moment it's set to about 2 o'clock. I'll see if I can zoom in a bit on that actually. No, I can't really zoom in that much, so you just have to take my word for it anyway. So it's at 2 o'clock at the moment. So that's at 2 o'clock. I'll go to 12. So we're heading towards the it's going to hurt your ears zone. As you can hear, it's a lot more pronounced. And if we keep going, it will be okay. I won't go deaf because the speed's not up full. But there's no point setting it after that into the 10 or 11 point, because you're not going to be able to use it when you turn the speed up. So, I mean, it's just a ridiculous amount of flange. So I'm going to just knock that back to 2 o'clock where it was before. And if I keep going to 3 o'clock, etc., it'll get more subtle as we go. So this is on maximum settings too, remember, so it's not going to get any, I'm not going to have a stronger flange effect than what I'm setting here. Just keep that in mind when you're actually setting it up too. So this middle trim pot's actually really easy. Basically, anywhere after 12 o'clock it distorts. It's the other way around now, so 12 o'clock to 1, 2, 3 o'clock in that direction, you're looking at distortion, which sounds horrible. And anywhere the other way from 12 o'clock, so 11, 10, 9, it sounds good, and it pretty much sounds the same. When I'm saying this 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock business, I'm talking if you're facing the dial, so if we're actually looking at it from this direction. So, I mean, because that's the direction that you're going with the screwdriver, obviously, so, sorry, my hand's in the way. Like, you're going in on that direction, so when I'm saying 12 o'clock, just picture that as the face of the clock, obviously. Yeah, so that was easy. You just put that in an area where it doesn't distort and it sounds good. So that's quite simple. Now onto this last one at the top. This is another one set to ear, as you'd set to ear, and I like to think of it as kind of like a springy sound. How much spring you want in your flanger. Like if I play the flange effect now, it has a sort of springy quality to it, and you can get some ridiculously springy sounds if you keep turning this. So I can't remember what's more and what's less, but I think maybe towards 3 o'clock is more. Yeah, it sounds like it's, I can hear it in the noise. So I mean, I'm on probably about, it was on 2, now it's on, it was on 12, now it's on 2 o'clock. And it's really starting to sound springy. If I go back the other way, so now I'm going towards 10 o'clock. It's probably on 11 o'clock actually. It's become more subtle. So that's another one that you can set to ear to your liking as well. You don't have to set up the way that I have it, but you just set it up to the way that you like to hear it, obviously. And yeah, just keep in mind too that you're on your maximum settings at the moment, so it's not going to get any more. The flange effect isn't going to be any more pronounced than what you're hearing right now. So just set it to the maximum basically amount of springiness or resonance as you heard before. You could actually put that trim pot on a potentiometer and have it as like a spring setting, which would sound pretty cool. That would be something that I'd consider doing too. And finally, how did I get the LED to flash on the front? It's the same as what I do with pretty much all my other builds. Just find a LFO on the board. In this case, you can see that little, well, you can't because it's not on the screen. You can now. It's that little red wire connected to pin 7 of this IC down the bottom. You should know which IC that is if you look at your board. The MNs are up here. There's 2 MN chips are there. It's down from there. Pin 7 is your plus to the LED, and then just negative negative to ground as you normally do with an LED. Yeah, that's pretty much it for this build report. I'll do some sound samples of it, what sort of sounds you can get from it in probably the next video, because it does a lot of sounds, and yeah, if it just wasn't for that noise it would be pretty much perfect, but it's a bit noisy. You can get around that, as I said before, with the batteries or with a 12 volt straight in, but yeah, I've kind of moved on to other projects from this one anyway, so I might come back to it one day and fix it, but that's how it stands at the moment. So that's the build report for this one. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.